Hola, yo soy Trino Treviño y les doy la bienvenida al Club Tesoro.
I'm very happy to have you here, Tom, one half of Groove Armada. I'm Trino, so happy to have you here in a very different situation. No, I'm getting used to doing interviews and podcasts like this, but I don't know how you've been doing over this time and these months.
Yeah, I mean the same as you. I mean, like doing loads of interviews that I've never done before in ways that I've never done before. You know, I was DJing in a virtual pub the other night on radio. You know, like it's like everything's just, you know, the rules have changed completely, and I'm just, you know, I was just saying, just trying to focus, not think too much about the situation in general or what the future holds, and just trying to kind of deal with what's in front of me one day at a time. Lots of cliches, really, but it's true. You know, I think it's the only way to live through these times, you know.
And I mean, in some way, talking about this track you released, Get Out on the Dance Floor, I find it very, in a metaphoric way, like we really are always dancing in that type of dance floor in all of our lives, no? Because each time we go out of, I don't know, if we are going to work or we're going to school or whatever, we're always dancing in our living rooms, no? In our bathrooms, in the shower. I don't know. I mean, that's something that I think that you guys nailed it a lot.
Yeah, no, and I think it's true. And I've also noticed in a weird sort of way, like, I mean, it's hard that we can't go to clubs. It's hard that we can't go to festivals and share those experiences together. But I've also made me realize how important music is to everybody, you know, how central it is to people's lives. You know, there's a guy over in the UK, he's called Tim Burgess. He's in a band called the Charlatans. You know they're a big UK rock band. Mm-hmm. Anyway, he's doing like a session thing where it's called Tim Burgess's Twitter listening party or something. But anyway, you play an album and you all sit down together and you play a record at the same time, and then everyone starts, you know, get the artists who record the record, everyone tweets at each other about the record. And I realized how much music matters to me, you know, how for me, like in the evenings, just putting on a Spotify playlist, or, you know, that brings a kind of, it helps me cope with the situation a huge amount. And like, I mean, I'm listening to a certain kind of music. I don't want to listen to anything too abrasive. But yeah, it's been, I think that video nails that sense of yeah, like, you know, the kitchen disco, I guess that's what we call it.
Yeah. That's something amazing. I mean, I have not been watching that much of live streams, but for me has also been like something I can catch up now with a lot of music that I haven't had time before to listen to, you know, and I think that's something that's very important to a lot of people, that now they are really connecting with the real music, no, not only like using music as a way to isolate themselves at a bus station or whatever, no? So I think that's something very good for us and the people that make music, no?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I find myself like, you know, I've just been quite enjoying just sitting down in my living room now with a book and just listening to records I've gone through my record collection, just putting on a piece of vinyl again, you know. And I guess, you know, these are, you know, trying to find the positives in the experiences we're going through right now. You know, life has slowed down, obviously, massively to an extent. And you have the time to have those experiences that maybe you felt you didn't have the time to do before. So, yeah, I listened to the whole of Slave to the Rhythm by Grace Jones last night, which is like an amazing record to listen to back to back. It's Trevor Horn at his absolute best, you know?
Yeah. How has this changed in the terms of your creative process? Have you felt it like something that has been more useful, or have you sometimes like found yourself closed in a room and don't know what to do?
It's been a bit of, you know what, like I think that when we finished the album, it was like literally a week before we felt we'd mastered the record, you know. It was like a week before the UK went into lockdown. Okay. So I was in shock for a little bit, you know, like I wasn't really able to go to the studio. I didn't really want to go into the studio. I was tired, you know, I'd been making a record and I wasn't sure what we were going to do with the album. We were going to release it. So there was a bit of me not really knowing. But actually now we're now releasing the record and I'm doing this sort of stuff and I'm engaged in the promotional activity. Yeah, I've been getting back into the studio. I've been working quite intensely. I think it's, in a weird sort of way, again, this sort of improves your focus a bit. There are fewer distractions around now, you know. There's like less to take your mind off what you're doing. So yeah, this weekend I've been I've been writing quite a bit. We're doing a couple of remixes that Andy and I have been doing together. I've been working on that, and I've got quite used, and I think most musicians have got used to working remotely these days. Anyway, it's quite rare that you do a session with somebody in the studio. You send music and you get parts back and you edit in the studio. So, in terms of the actual process of making music, nothing's really changed for me. Andy and Andy lives in France, I live in London, so we've been doing things remotely for the last decade.
Yeah, now there's like a lot more tools all the time, not to make music and to send back files, etc. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So and I kind of noticed, like, just looking at Twitter and stuff, that you can see a lot of DJs saying, I'm feeling more creative now than I felt. You just feel like when we can start to get back out on the dance floor, there's going to be some amazing music to listen to, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think also this has been very healthy in terms, like, for example, all this music you guys been producing and are going to release with this album. I think we needed this break, like globally, and now people are gonna like need more fresh music. And I don't know, I mean, you guys were writing and producing this album in a different time than the one that we're living right now, but at the end, I don't know, I think this is gonna make changes for you in terms of how you're gonna perform this type of music, or how people are going to expect this type of parties as well, no?
Yeah. I mean, I think that it's in a weird sort of way now. The live, music was all about. It would come down to like how you were making a living as a musician. Really, was by performing. Yeah. So that's that's worrying, at the moment. But it also is going to be. I think people will never take those experiences for granted ever again. As a musician, I'm never going to moan backstage about the journeys I have to make to get to the next show and all that stuff that you realize. Yeah, so that I'm sure that we will be doing this all again. I read today about some vaccine that was tried in the States. It seems to be really positive, and we will get through this. That's,
of course.
And I think it's going to be. I'm sort of hoping the next summer feels to me like realistic that we would be playing again. And I was really excited about playing this record live anyway. I was really looking forward to it, but I'm going to basically explode when I get back on stage for the first time. That's for sure.
How do you feel with the evolution of dance music itself? Because you guys been, crushing it since the beginning of 2000, and now you've seen like pretty much everything. Each week you're inside nightclubs, you're in festivals, you're everywhere. So how have you seen this evolution? Because you've been part of this foundation of the superstar dance acts, in some way.
Yeah. It's been it's interesting in the sense that, like, I've never really connected myself to one particular scene. I've seen the kind of the superstar DJ thing come and go, and I was never felt like that was who we were. I saw Big Beat come and go, and I was never really felt that's who we were, and Chill Out come and go, and I didn't think we were that either. So I like the scene now more than I think the scene now is fantastic. I think it's incredibly diverse. I think that people are more open-minded, as listeners than I can remember in a long time. It's not, I've noticed, like, I think it's probably to do with streaming, but I kind of feel like sort of the young producers that are coming through now are, they're kind of sampling from a range of different sources. Like disco's got it's coming back, and that's something I've always loved. So I think it's sort of fundamentally, nothing has really changed. That you need to make the core of what represents a good groove is, it hasn't really changed. But I don't know. I think it's sort of. I think there's a possibility of, like, all these things we can come out of this with a kind of, with a more positive, more loving kind of scene at the end of all of this. And in terms of how things are, just trying to get back to the original question, was about how things have changed over 20 years. I think I don't know. I think now it's less about the cult of the DJ, and it's more about experiences. It's more about social experiences. It's clubs like El Row, or it's more about people coming together and sharing. And I like that where we've got to in that place now, you know, that it's not really about, it's not, I mean, it's not about Calvin Harris or David Guetta or, you know, it's about those kind of brands and those clubs. And so hopefully, you know, that's where I think we've got to now, and that it's less cultish, and that kind of suits us fine, you know. I still think that nobody really does live music like we do, so that's great.
Yeah, that's something.
Thing. And I've seen over 20 years people try to do it, and I still don't feel like anyone's quite got that mixture of kind of live musicianship and electronics right. So I feel like if we come back in 18 months' time, we're still going to feel pretty fresh and original, you know, which is good.
Yeah. I want to know more about how you guys write and produce music, because, for example, I'm a DJ, and I've been playing in a lot of my shows recently before this lockdown, the Superstylin, but the Riva Star remix, which has been working very, very good for me. And
yeah, it's good.
The thing about this is that no matter how much years have passed because this track has been released, it always works, and that's something that in essence you guys been making inside the studio, something that is timeless, no? So how do you know how to create this type of timeless dance music in the end?
I think it's I think the ones that have stood the test of time for us, and there's probably 7 or 8 tracks that I notice of ours that come round and round again, but Superstylin is the big club one. Is it's just about it's having a hook, a vocal hook that's universal, that just sort of grabs you, but it's timeless. It's not too cheesy, it's not doesn't feel rooted in a particular musical moment, and I think Superstylin, we've drawn a lot of kind of reggae and ska emphasis for that. But yeah, it's about, I think it's a nice thing about working as a duo, is that you work and you kind of where you want to get to with something. And it's that moment where you both think, yeah, no, that's it. That's it. And you're both excited about it. And that's something I think that we've had that with like My Friend, and with, I See You Baby, and At the River, and Superstylin are tunes where you kind of, there's a sort of universality about it, which is, it's kind of commercial, but it's not cheesy, now Superstylin is one of those records where I'm just so grateful that we wrote it. We worked really hard on that record. I'm going to be honest, like sometimes something flows, something like an idea can come and go, and you can, like At the River, which is the first record we probably wrote that in 3 hours. Superstylin probably took us 9 months to get to the point where we nailed the moment, which was and just, so it's that mixture of inspiration and perspiration, that you need to go through to kind of get the hook.
Yeah, they say that sometimes creativity needs to be also with discipline, no, and to work every day on these tracks, because sometimes, like you said, you can get stuck. And
exactly, and I think and I think when with someone like Superstylin, when we got the vocal, we knew that there was a hit. There was like a massive hit in that record. And when it's nearly there, then you just don't stop until you feel like you've delivered like the best piece of music you can with that hook,
100%,
So it's a record. It's changed my life, that record, and it's like literally every time. Like once we wrote that record, it's like suddenly we could be a headliner at a festival, and it's been. I'm very grateful to have had a part in that tune.
You were also speaking about the streaming era we are living right now, and how sometimes can be hard and sometimes is the best thing that could happen to us. But I want to talk about this because you guys are going to release this album, Edge of the Horizon, and I think not many people are delivering albums right now. So when you guys start to make a new album like this one, you really take your time and you really make a good effort inside this album. No? So why making albums still? And in this case, what's the story behind each album you create?
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that I think when we did Black Light, we really enjoyed that record because it had I think you're right. The streaming thing is interesting, that people tend to have their own playlists and they drag their tunes in. But like I said, I've been enjoying, and I think this is maybe like we're looking for positives to come out of this moment. And maybe as things have slowed down, you can start to celebrate the occult of the album and what a lovely listening experience it is when you commit 50, 60 minutes of your life to a body of work, you know. So that might be a positive that comes out of this, you know, they come back and people do make time for those experiences. It isn't just about 3 minutes here and there. And with this record, I think, like, you know, the record that I've been really enjoying in a moment is the new Childish Gambino record. It just came out, and he's done that record really well, where it's just all, you know, you can't imagine pulling one track out of it. The last Frank Ocean album is a really good example of that, of a thing that it exists better as a whole than it does as separate parts, you know.
Yeah.
And I think we tried to do that with this record. It's not quite as together as that, but, you know, there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to the record, you know, and that's very much the way we sequenced it, you know. So I think I've always, you know, I think when we first made Vertigo, which is our first that was kind of a novel thing, you know, it was a new thing for a dance band to be making albums, you know, and I think it gives you a sense of longevity if you can make records, you know, and people relate to you more, and you have more of a sense of permanence somehow. So I think I've always seen it like that. I've always seen it's like we make an album, we tour that album, we work in those sort of cycles, and I think that can be really helpful. You know, I don't think that suits the DJ culture as well, but if you're touring with a band and you've got those and you're fitting into the kind of festival seasons, then I think making albums is really important, you know.
And also, this translates to the live show that, for example, I mean, you've been absorbing like a lot of things that have been happening in the nightclubs. Like, for example, you go a lot to play in Ibiza, and you see a lot of what's happening on the dance floor and how people react to music as well. No, so I don't know. I mean, this has probably influenced in some way how you're going to present this album live.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, the club stuff massively feeds into how we do anything live. You know, whenever you do a live show, you have to kind of up the ante like 20-30%, you know, like you have to make those moments just a little bit bigger. When you're listening on a pair of headphones, it's fine, but like you need to amplify everything, a bit more white noise, you know, a few more snare drum rolls, you know, just make it a real experience for people. Because, you know, half the people that are watching you at a festival, they probably never listened to a Groove Armada record before. So you have to find a way of reaching them, you know, and so being a DJ and having that experience of like playing to a crowd is incredibly helpful for when you come to try and produce a show, you know, and understand the dynamics of working a crowd. You know, you can take that, you can put that onto a festival stage, and it's been a big part of why I think our live show is so successful, you know, that we understand that kind of idea of a drop and an explosion.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because a lot of people are used to that, no, right now.
Yeah, you gotta make that part of the show. You know, that's part of the drama of a show. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tom has been very good to speak to you, but to close this session, I want to know more about what are your plans in terms of. I mean, we don't really know what's gonna happen in a couple of months till now, but probably you guys are planning something, no, that could help. I mean, I don't know. I mean, probably you're going to make more streaming parties or whatever. So what plans do you have?
I think at the moment there's enough, you know, we're doing what's been offered to us. That we're doing a few little DJ sets here and there online. Like I said, I played in a virtual pub, and Andy's doing a little charity gig right now, actually. So we're doing bits. At the moment, we're sort of planning our promotional schedule is based on the idea that we will be able to get back to the experiences we've had before the outbreak of, you know, so at the moment it's still focused on the idea of playing shows again in maybe March, April, but hopefully, realistically, I guess next summer.
Yeah.
But if for whatever reason things don't look like that, then I guess we'll look at some kind of, you know, whether it's virtual reality or some kind of gigs that we can do from a rehearsal studio or something. But at the moment, in my mind, I would love to see that, like to think that we would be potentially gigging again in the UK in May next year, then touring festivals, and then touring beyond, you know, going and doing Australia, hopefully, you know, Latin America, Mexico, United States even, and all of that afterwards. So that was always the plan for this record. For me, it's like I'm just taking a year sabbatical.
Well, all of us know,
and we'll come back and we'll do the same thing. And there's bits of that I can say that I'm enjoying, you know, so it's not all bad.
Also, I just want to end this with, if you could give us a couple or some tips, because I speak a lot with young producers and young DJs that really want to make a breakthrough in music, and also producers that do make like their own live acts. So what could be like some advice for them that you could share to them in terms of how to break through in music?
Yeah, I think it's probably not to think too much about how to break through in music, because you're going to drive yourself mad, just find the scene you love, look at the labels, look at the producers in that scene you love, become familiar with that sort of stuff. And then I think you've just got to push yourself to make a record and commit to the process and put it out there. And then I think otherwise you can spend hours sort of thinking like, oh, I need to get this, that, and that. But actually I think commit to the process, and not that difficult to make a great record sometimes, and certainly from when I was starting, whether it was 25 years ago, it's more accessible now. You could make a great record with a laptop and a pair of speakers. So I think it's to find a sound you love, commit to that, listen to producers, listen to the labels, make a record like that, and then just keep going at it, trying to finish stuff, and I don't think there's anything particularly secret about it beyond that. I think people think it's something like there's some magic gift that you need to make a record, but you don't really. You just need to finish something and commit to it, and then just be passionate about what you do.
Work hard inside the studio.
I'd love to think that there was some magic moment for me, but it really was that. It was just about immersing yourself in the scene that you love, and then eventually that will be about going down to clubs, listening to the DJs you love, shazamming the tunes that you love when he's playing them, going back, downloading those, and then starting to make records like that, and that's how I did it. That's how I did it. I looked up to DJs like DJ Harvey, who was a big DJ in my town, and I used to go and listen to him night after night, and just absorb that as much as I could. And then eventually you take that and you create your own thing from that, and that's, at the end of the day, there's very few original ideas in music. It's about you finding something you love and then putting your own spin on that,
100%. Well, Tom, thank you very much for having this time and making this session. I'm very grateful with you, and also looking forward for the new album, which, this track has been amazing. So
great.
I'm very hopeful of what's going to come.
Good. Thanks a lot,
Tom.
Thanks, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Esto es un episodio más de El Club Tesoro. Mi nombre es Trino Treviño y les agradezco una vez más a todos ustedes que nos escuchan en todas partes del mundo. Recuerden compartir el podcast si es que les gustó, para que se puedan suscribir más de sus amigos y podamos comentar mucho más sobre estos temas. Yo estoy en las redes sociales como @TrinoDJ, así me encuentran como TrinoDJ en Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube y SoundCloud, así como también pueden visitar mi sitio web, que es www.trinodj.com, donde cada semana estoy subiendo artículos relacionados al mundo de la música, así como entrevistas y también los programas de radio, donde cada semana estreno mucha música. Una vez más, les agradezco, espero puedan comentar este podcast con todos sus amigos y me dará mucho gusto saber de ustedes en las redes sociales. Nos escuchamos el siguiente episodio, hasta pronto.